It is no secret that Democrats in this country have tried to push us towards more clean energy sources. These pushes range from the Green New Deal proposed by AOC and her allies to states like New York and California outlawing gas-powered vehicles in favor of electric-powered vehicles by 2035. And recently, one of the largest grid operators in the United States, this is PJM Interconnection, has released a report warning against these pushes towards clean energy. The report covers the power supply and demand of PJM Interconnection through 2030 across the 13 states that it services. And those 13 states cover 65 million people in the United States. And it concluded that fossil fuel power plants are retiring much faster than renewable sources are getting developed, which could lead to severe energy imbalances and catastrophes. I wrote an article about this back in November in the Epic Times. It's called "Wake Up America, Soon is the Winter of Our Discontent." I really went into a summary of the power problems that we are soon to be facing at very severe levels. It is so irresponsible for people to want to push us so quickly towards these renewable energy sources. Certainly as a long-term goal, it may not be a bad thing, but to completely outlaw gas-powered vehicles by 2035 is essentially energy suicide, and PJM agrees. The report says that 40,000 megawatts of power generation, that's enough to light up 30 million households, are at risk of retiring by 2030. This represents about 21% of PJM's current capacity. It is also said that the historical rate of completion for renewable energy products has been approximately 5%. So if you look at President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, for example, that's something that he points to say, oh, we will be able to create a country where we can facilitate all of these renewable energy sources. We're providing subsidies for wind and solar power. But again, this PJM report has showed that the rate of completion for these is very small. And over time, as fossil fuel plants are retiring, and also, as I discuss in the Epic Times article, nuclear power plants are retiring and not getting rebuilt, we are going to have to shift more towards these energy sources, and our power grid just does not have the capability to handle it. By the way, a Wall Street Journal article a few months ago illustrated this beautifully, I mean, soberingly, but very well, when they followed a person who traveled across the country in an electric powered vehicle, and they showed how onerous the journey is, how difficult it is to rely solely on electric powered devices. This person every few hours had to stop and recharge the car with a battery, which takes 3 to 4 hours to recharge a car, a Tesla or one of the other electric powered cars, whereas when you get gas, you can just put it in your tank and go on your merry way. So it created a lot of backups because people were waiting in line for the battery chargers. Also, this whole idea that a car like a Tesla vehicle is somehow more clean than gas-powered vehicles is just BS, because first of all, you plug in the battery to the Tesla, and the cord is ultimately connected to electricity, or has electricity funneling fuel through it. So in order to create that electricity, it requires fossil fuels to be burned to generate it. So maybe it's not putting gas into a car, but it's relying on fossil fuels in another indirect way, but nevertheless in still a prominent way. And also, the batteries inside of these cars that supposedly make them so green need rare minerals in order to build the battery. Essentially, these rare minerals are a part of the battery. And in order to get these rare minerals, you have to mine for them, which creates a lot of pollution and waste. So it's just, again, there's no this whole idea that there are just these clean energy sources is so misguided, because at the end of the day, we end up mining and getting our fossil fuels from somewhere. This PJM report said in an optimistic case, 21,000 megawatts of wind, solar, and battery storage capacity will be added to the grid by 2030, but that is about half of the expected fossil fuel retirements. And the PJM report said that during the Arctic blast of December of 2020, when snow and blizzards hit the East Coast, PJM ordered a lot of its businesses and homes to pull back on its power usage and homes. And most of those generators switched to burning oil. But this article, which talks about this PJM report, aptly asked, what happens when those power plants shut down? What happens in another case where a winter storm causes these homes and businesses to curtail their power and they can't switch to burning oil? They're going to freeze. That means they can't heat their homes and businesses. So PJM anticipates a lot of big power shortages if we continue down the road that we are going down. And it is a life or death situation because people need heat. They will get frostbite. They will not be able to heat their homes if we do not have these energy sources that they can rely on. And it is just yet another example of the very irresponsible, ill-advised policies that on the surface seem really great, but in actuality can really harm and in many cases kill people.